Hello and welcome to Let's Meet. My name's Elizabeth Ingero, and today I have got a good one for you. We're going to try and get our guest in as soon as possible so that we can really delve into the topic. So, today we are talking about direction in life and how we are able to come to terms with having to change a direction in life if it is what we require. And the question we've asked is it possible to change direction and the path of your life? And the second part will be looking at, is it possible to have different interests, many interests, and still succeed at those things? So I'm sure there are a lot of you in the audience and listening today that have asked yourselves questions like this in terms of the direction of your life, where you're headed. Is it really where you want to be? Is it the thing that you're really passionate about? And you've reflected on that in life. There are some of you who really haven't given it a second thought, and you find yourself in a position, in a situation that where you feel unfulfilled, where you feel like there's something more to life, or there's something more that you can offer to society. So we're going to be looking at some of the things that can help you on that journey to, number one, identify whether the path that you're on is right for you or not. And then secondly, do something about it if it is a path that you think you need to veer off, or you desire to start something new, or to face a new adventure in life that would be best suited to your personality. So I'm really looking forward to this discussion, and I can't wait to get my guest in. We have a friend, somebody who is known as DJ Caise, who is Derry Caise Phillips. Now, he has done so many things in his life, and which is why I thought he's the perfect person to actually bring on board to discuss this issue. And I was contemplating whether to bring somebody who was, older, maybe in their 60s, 70s, to talk about this topic. But when I reflected on it and I thought about what I'm trying to achieve by it, I thought, no, we need to have anybody of any age, because this is something that affects people right from being a teenager to later on in life. And it's something that, you could decide when you're 17 that the path that you're on isn't quite right, and you decide to change the course of action from that stage, as well as somebody who has, had a career for 20 years in the same thing, and then all of a sudden they decide in their 60s, 70s that they want to do something else. So we're going to tackle this topic together. And as I said, I'm really excited because Derry Phillips has done so much. He's a DJ currently. He's a philanthropist. He's working with people in terms of coaching, life coaching, creative coaching. And he's also, at the same time as doing all of that and being a father, he is a banker. So he's the perfect person to speak to in terms of the two topics of changing direction in life and having different interests and making a success out of those interests. So without further ado, I'm going to bring in my guest, Derry Caise Phillips. Oh, we'll probably have to keep on talking about the topic because I've just had a look and he was in the house, he was in the room, but he's gone off somewhere and he will be coming back any moment now. Hello, Derry. How are you?
Hello, I'm good.
You gave me a shock. I thought I saw him one moment and then he's gone.
Yeah, I couldn't. There was something wrong with the audio, so I had to restart. But yeah, we're back around.
Well, thank you very, very much for joining us today. And we really have so much to cover. So I really want to crack on with this and we'll get stuck into the topic. But before I start, I'd like to ask you to describe yourself. Who are you as a person? So not what you do, but who are you as a person? So Derry Caise Phillips is a person who.
I'm a creative. I think that's the definition I've definitely come to terms with. I definitely am a creative in all sense of the word. I believe as human beings, our role is to be creatives. We don't see things the same as other animals or mammals because we can provide creativity. So I think creativity is an essence to life, and it's something everybody should tap into, whatever background you're coming from, whatever field you operate in. Creativity is what truly sets you apart. So I've pretty much dedicated to my life to being dedicated to being creative in all aspects of my life, whether it's be the banking, the real estate, the of course the music, the art, um, just going that step further, being creative, being innovative. That's so that's a good definition to describe it, being a creative. Yeah.
So you're a creative person. That's great to know.
Yeah.
Now, just before we sort of go into the topic and dissect it a little bit, and the main thing we want to do for today is give people something to go away with, to be able to impart in their lives, to be able to take action on. But before we start that, can you just give us an idea of the different things that you do currently in your life, so the different aspects of what you do? Because there are
So
quite a lot of them. So take a deep breath and just I just want you to list them out. Just list them the different things that you are.
yes, yes. Okay, so I think along the course of this conversation, you find out why I'm doing so much. But I'm a banker. I'm a fixed income trader. I'm a life coach. I'm a real estate consultant. I am a DJ, producer. I'm a painter, an artist, and yeah, I'm a father. I'm a husband. Yeah.
So you're many things then. So is it fair to say that you're the answer to the second part of the question, which is it possible to have multiple interests and succeed at them? Is it fair to say that your answer to that would be a big yes?
Huge yes. Huge yes.
Okay,
Not only something
go ahead.
I would encourage everyone to explore.
Mm. Okay, so you'd encourage people to explore trying different things. Is that what you mean?
Yes. I believe everyone has destiny. Everyone is
Mm.
here for a purpose. Um, and then the journey itself is where life is. So you learn a lot of things via that journey, not only the destination. So exploring, knocking on as many doors as possible, it's key, especially if they provide various elements of joy to you.
Yeah.
During our conversations, we were discussing how your life is pretty much divided into different segments. You have the health and well-being, the family, relationship and marriage, your career, your finance, your friendships, your spirituality, all those areas in life. It's very important to identify how you can excel in each of them. You got to picture your life in about 50 or 20 years. I just try and imagine the best scenario possible. From identifying that, you can then work towards it. So that's the reason why I do so many things, because I have fixed each of those careers or those occupations into different areas of my life. So music, for instance, now brings me joy. So that's energy and passion. Of course, you got the family. Of course, you got the career, which is my banking, real estate, finance. So everything slots into a different section.
Family life. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I
So
think
that's
that's one thing that we're really keen to push on this, with these series as well, is you've just said it, you've just hit the nail on the head. Think of yourself down the line. Where do you
yeah.
want to be? What do you want to be feeling? What do you want to be experiencing at that time? And then you then go back to say, what do you need to do right now to make that a reality? So
Yes. Yeah.
great, great. Thanks for that. So I want to now move on to the topic because, as I said, I mean, look, the time is just going to go really, really quickly, but we're going to enjoy every moment of it. So tell me then, what would you say um, is is your answer to the benefits of having a fulfilled life? So we've looked at people, who maybe want to change career or they want to change their life situation, and the temptation could be that they just say, well, let me just stay with things how they are, status quo, and not change anything because I've been doing it for so long. But just to give them a pull as to the benefits of changing things if it needs to be changed, what do you think are the benefits of having a fulfilled life where you're doing what you know you're supposed to be doing rather than just settling?
There was someone that um, described a chair, right? If you think of a chair, right,
Yes,
the purpose of the chair is for you to sit on, right? You would probably say that that's the purpose, right?
yes,
But actually, there are chairs that you can kind of almost stand on. There are chairs to some extent you can lie on. There are chairs that they have no back supports. There are chairs. So just finding your purpose is extremely important. Finding yourself, and that is a life's journey. Everyone is trying to figure out what they do, and one of the biggest obstacles to finding yourself is fear. I think it's something that we all have to address. We'll have to try and identify. You see, fear's only objective is to stop you from reaching your destiny. That's what I've come to realize.
Yes.
And you have to consciously be aware of what fear feels like. Everybody feels it.
Mm.
Everybody. Um, I used to work with a lot with Ice Prince, one of the biggest rappers out of Nigeria. And there will be times where I'll see him get on stage. I mean, this is someone that's doing it for a long time. He's won multiple awards. And there'll be times he'll get on stage, about to get on stage, and he'll be nervous. And I'll be wondering, like, and most of the time it's probably at in a scenario where there are actually not many people. It's quite a small gig, but some strangers that he'll just be nervous.
Yeah.
And then, have a conversation, he snaps into it and starts performing. So it's only there to distract you. It's only there to lie. It's only there to deceive you. And then once you have the mindset and understand it, it helps you reach your destiny, because you then realize what your purpose is, and you realize it's only there to distract you. So you must be aware that fear is going to be there to distract you. It's going to be there to deceive you. It's going to be there to lie to you. So most of the things you want to achieve, you're going to have to do it afraid. So learning,
Oh, very good.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, just do it afraid. Learning what your or who you're about, where you're meant to be, and that takes a long process. Um, it can be a bit tough, but it's definitely worth it. It brings a lot of clarity to your life. It brings a lot of vision. You picturing yourself. By the time you picture yourself in 20 years, and you kind of predict all the obstacles that might come in your way,
Yes.
fear can't deceive you, because then if you're thinking like, okay, actually, I do have a problem of procrastination. I always put things off. By the time you take other courses or you use strategies to avoid it, you realize that, okay, anytime I'm feeling like, okay, I'm going to put things off, I'll just promise myself I'll do just a tiny bit. Then after that
Yeah.
tiny bit, I do more. Then, or just strategies to put it off. You're
Get
reaching,
going.
you're actually going to reach your goal. I've come to realize by doing things just bit by bit, it would actually help you reach your goal. So whoever wants to change careers, I think, first of all, has to conquer fear. And
Hmm.
after conquering fear, you and realizing that fear is just there to deceive you, it's a lie, you then have to allow yourself to be vulnerable. If you allow yourself to be vulnerable, there are many lessons you can learn, because what most people are scared of is failure, right?
Yes.
But meanwhile, failure, every time you fail, you're getting closer to success.
And
So
you're
you just have to,
learning something as well.
yes, failure is great feedback. It's the best feedback you can get. And then once you get that, you can just keep on going on and going forward. And then I think the most important thing I've learned, the lessons are in the journey. Life is a journey. Not so much the destination is great, but the enjoyment or the lessons, and life in itself is in that journey. So make the
Yes.
most out of it. Don't limit yourself. Don't pull back. Don't give yourself reasons not to explore the world. Yeah.
So I'm right in saying that your philosophy then is not to get rid of fear, but it's acknowledging that the fear will be there and then
Yeah.
going ahead anyway.
Yes.
Okay.
Everyone
So
feels is what you do with it that counts. Everyone feels fear.
yes. Okay. I mean, that's really good. I think quite an encouragement to people that maybe are in situations where they want to take the leap or they want to change their life situations. But again, that niggling thought in their mind, which is probably triggered by fear, keeps on coming up telling them, oh, well, what if this happens? Or what if that happens? What if this happens? And
Yeah.
therefore, it prevents them from moving forward and taking the actions that they need to get to their fulfilled state, to the place where they want to be. So let me then ask you, if someone recognizes that they have a potential or there's something that they want to do, how would you work out for an individual? How would you suggest that an individual works out what their destiny is, or if they are on the right path? Are there any key indicators that would allow someone to say, okay, I recognize that. Maybe I should do something about it?
I think it's a very easy exercise that I've personally used, that I encourage people to use, and that is just
Take notes.
picture yourself. Picture
Start taking notes, everyone. Go on.
when you're 65, or you imagine yourself at your birthday party, right?
Okay.
It's a lavish affair, or however you prefer it, but if you call it lavish affair, you got your favorite MC, your friends and families there, your the best food, the drinks. You have to smell it, you have to picture it, right?
Visualize it. Mm.
Visualize it, and you have the MC or whoever is reading out your citation, right? And then they've divided that speech into 12 different categories, which I mentioned before: your health, your family, your relationship, your finance, your friendships, and they have everything listed out, right? And then they describe me like, wow, Elizabeth lived a fantastic life. She was very healthy. She managed to achieve what? That's what you put there. Her family, she was married with two kids, who later went to be, you fill it in. So you literally put the best possible scenario, your finance, how much money do you want to have? The best possible scenario. Now, when you
Yeah.
identify, you then use the acronym GROW, right? So that's grow.
Yes. Okay. For
So,
the coaching.
yeah, so the
Mhm.
G stands for goal. So you've identified what your goal is. In the next 20, 30 years, I want to have so amount in my account, right?
Yeah.
Then the reality, the R stands for reality. You have to identify the resources you have at hand. Where are you now? Where exactly? What kind of things do you have in place? And then you go to the O, which is the possible obstacles that might come in place. You have to identify what can stop me. What have I tried before? What opportunities are available? What things can I use to achieve this goal?
To
And
your
then lastly,
advantage. Mm.
yeah, and W is the way forward. So the next step. Now, this is by far the most important part, right?
Yes.
You very very easy to dream. It's very easy to say I want to make 1 billion tomorrow, but then you have to identify the way forward. What is the
How
first
to
step?
do it. Mm.
Yes, an uncle that knows somebody that can supply me this material at cheap price. Tomorrow I'm going to call him, and after calling him, whatever he tells me, I'm going to do. Going to look at
Actionable steps rather than maybe in a few, and it has to be something that's time bound as well. So in 2 weeks' time, I will have achieved this.
exactly, yeah. But those
Now,
steps are important.
yeah. Now, what you've just said is excuse me, I've got a frog in my throat. What you've just
No,
said highlights that people can look at those different areas. But then when it comes to things like, for example, career, someone could be, have a good career that's giving them a good a salary that would then feed the rest of their lives. But what I wanted to really find out from you, are there any other key indicators that would highlight to somebody that maybe the career that they're in or the path that they've chosen isn't quite right for them? Because there could be two options that it's still okay, they're living an okay life, it's happy. What can they use to say, maybe it's not quite right?
okay, so I think the key is to identify what gives you happiness, right?
Mm.
Going back to finding yourself, I think that is by far the most important thing. You have to know what you're happy about. Some people they might place money over their time, for instance. They might know that, okay, to live this kind of life I want to live in 30 years, I have to sacrifice a certain amount of time. Some people, on the other hand, would rather spend time with family. They realize, okay, I'm a family man. I enjoy spending time with my family, so I'm going to have to limit it. So identifying the kind of person you are is by far the most important thing.
Mm.
Identifying who you
Okay.
are is key to highlighting what your own happiness is. And each person's goal is peculiar to themselves. There's no two people can have the same dream. It's almost like everybody has dreams, and that's because of the experiences you've been through, your beliefs. A lot of factors determine what exactly you want to become. So
Yes.
mean, that is the basis of then forming your goals, and then forming your goals is then boils down to this kind of situation where somebody wants to change job. They might identify themselves, okay, I want to be a billionaire, or I want to have $100,000 in the next year, right? They're going to have to be realistic and say, because it's their personal goal, right? They're going to say, okay, I need to put in this amount of time, even though I don't enjoy this job for the meanwhile. In a year or two, I'm going to move to a job I enjoy better. Or more importantly, they're going to form a plan as to how they're
Okay.
going to transit jobs. So this is not something that is spur of the moment. You don't just drop what you're doing, and yet there has to be a specific plan. Like I said, the goal, you identify the goal, you look at your reality. Okay, so the goal is to change jobs. The reality is, okay, I'm in a job now, I'm using it to pay my bills,
Mhm.
I'm saving money. Then the obstacles, you identify things you've tried before, the kind of what you don't like about the job, what you don't want in the other job, and then the way forward is, okay, now I'm going to send my CV to, I'm going to put my CV up on LinkedIn. I'm going to update my LinkedIn profile, and then I'm going to, start talking to headhunters. That kind of, it's a very
Yes.
step by step, and it's actionable points.
That's right. Yeah. So we've talked about then about finding yourself. Can
Mm.
you just talk me through the journey of how you found yourself and then explain how other people generally could find themselves? What could they do to actually find themselves? Because that, as you say, is key to being able to move forward. So how did you find yourself?
Well, I found myself. It was a very, very. I definitely won't recommend anyone did it the way I did. So a bit of background: I've been DJing for the past 15 years or so. Was quite successful. Was fortunate to tour the world a couple of times, and I did play some major gigs. So by all metrics, I was fine because I've been doing this for so long. This is who I was meant to be. And then just a chance encounter, I just started asking myself the question that if for God forbid, if I died tomorrow, where would I be? Is this something I'd be happy with? What kind of legacy would I live? What would I be remembered for? In my tributes, what kind of things would people say about me? And then once I made that decision, or I asked myself that question, I then decided, okay, I need to find a way. I had a lot of religious experiences. I happened to go to Kaduna for a couple of months to really do some soul searching. An easier way to put it is that I had a very deep conversation with God. I sat down with Him, and I talked through a couple of things. So that took a while. It's a very long process. But then I was happy to meet a life coach called Mr. Larry Olushola, who asked me, some further deep questions, and then put me through this coaching scenario. And when I visualized my life in 30 years, or when I was 65, I knew there's some changes I needed to make. A lot of people didn't understand why I left DJing for a while and why I stopped producing. It's because I needed answers to those questions. And the more I asked myself those questions, the deeper that I dig into finding what exactly I was here for, I started making those steps towards it. So those tiny steps I started making. Some were a bit drastic because I definitely wouldn't advise anyone to drop their career immediately. I would definitely emphasize that you talk to a life coach. You meet someone who's a professional and can take you through that path, because it can be very difficult to look yourself in the mirror and ask some very powerful questions. You might not like the answer you get, and life coaches, um, they studied the profession, so they know how to. I'm trying not to get deep, but let me just so there's a subconscious and this conscious mind. The
Mhm.
subconscious is where all the answers are. The subconscious is your spirit man, and that's where you have all the true answers. Most of the time your conscious is trying to deceive you because it's flesh,
Mm.
right? But your subconscious is where all the answers, everything is, because it's a direct path to God. So um, coaches know how to trick your conscious mind into into going left, so they can access your subconscious and then get you to answer things that would benefit you in the long run. So
Yeah.
definitely, I would advise you talk to a life coach. They're experienced in getting you to ask those questions. And someone define it this way: if you're lost in a forest, right? Even though you have a map and you kind of have a compass or whatever, you're going to be surrounded by trees, right? You're going to have to duck the trees, and you can't really see that far ahead. You're going to have to trust the map. But then if you
That's
have
right.
someone above in a helicopter with an aerial view that can see everything, they can easily guide you through that forest. That's what a life coach would do. And yeah, I would definitely recommend you get a life coach.
And you do life coaching as well yourself, don't you? But you do
Yeah.
that specifically for creatives or for anyone?
Well, I do it for anyone because the principles are the same. But
Yes.
most of my clients are creatives because I kind of understand what it means to be a
Yeah.
creative.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think it's what you've said is really important in the sense of that you can deceive yourself if you're asking yourself those questions.
Yeah, you can't trust your brain too much. it took me a while to understand that. Basically, I think there was a survey after 9/11, the crash. You had some of the there was a scientist that conducted an experiment, and what they did is that they asked everyone to recall the experiences of what happened, and then what they discovered was those people around. And what they discovered is that everyone had pretty much different variations of what really happened, right?
Yes.
Can't trust your brain too much because it's someone described it this way: if you're drinking, if you keep thinking about coffee, right, and different types of coffee, and the especially if you're a coffee drinker, you can almost taste it, you can smell it after a while, right? So your
Mm.
brain believes coffee is almost in your mouth because you've been thinking it.
Thinking
So you
about it.
yeah, you can't trust your brain too much. Another reason why I advise people to write things down and really get to to know themselves, going back to that concept, because when you know yourself, you understand that, okay, there's some things I need to do to get to points from point A to point B, and it might not necessarily involve trusting my brain that much. You have to write things down.
And the other thing as well is some of the barriers that you might face could be internal barriers rather than just external barriers.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it, because everyone has different beliefs, which are formed by the experiences, right? And those beliefs, they form filters. So what if two people are watching the same thing and ask them to describe it to you, they describe it in different ways, right? Because of their experiences and beliefs and what they've experienced, they could interpret it in different ways. That's another reason why you kind of have to get someone else to help you through the process.
Thank you for that. You have obviously lived a varied life. And what I want to find out from you is, was it, how was the experience of going from doing what you studied at university and then branching out into DJing, and then again branching out into coaching, branching out into community work? What was that experience? What were the obstacles you faced? Number one, and then how did you deal with being able to do that?
Yes, that's a really good question, actually. The obstacles I faced were many. I think fear was something that I battled every single day. You could call it somewhat exciting, but it was definitely scary. Going into the unknown most of the time. Like I mentioned before, I personally wish that I had a, a coach to walk me through this process because it'd be less scary. Because what I was doing was I was just moving on faith. I just knew I was not enjoying this anymore. I needed to do something, so I went ahead with it. I definitely would recommend you drop all that you're doing and jump into the next phase. Definitely recommend that there was. I would recommend you go through a plan, a solid plan in which you highlights all the obstacles and all the your way forward. But it was very scary. Family was definitely something I had to deal with because something I want everyone to understand is your goal and your plans is for you. No two chairs are the same. If you think about my definition, even though we're all human beings, even though we come from the same background, same family, brother and sister, no two people are the same.
That's right.
Everyone's destiny is completely different. And I think that's a very important thing because
Mm.
what I've come to realize is if everyone truly fulfills their destiny, imagine how much better a world this place would be. The world would be such a better place because
Indeed.
if you're meant to be the best chef in the world, right? And because of what your family thinks or because of what you're scared of, you're denying the world that talent. Everyone has genius level talent. So you have to allow yourself to achieve it, and you have to. It's almost like a gift. You're a vessel, right? And God has this whole place mapped out, and He knows everyone's meant to. He's given everyone genius level talent, and it's only when you achieve that talent that you have fulfillment. You have, you've
Peace.
contributed. Exactly, peace is the right word because you've done your part, and the more people realize that their goals are different, their dreams are different, and it's perfectly okay, and even though you feel that what you're doing, the next one is going to be better. You're getting closer to your goal. You just have to
Yes.
keep going. I just believe everyone needs to contribute their quota to making this world a better place. And knowing who you are, it's really important, and knowing why you're here, and going for it is so important.
So the term you use there is everyone has a genius
Level talent.
level talent. Now
Yeah, you just have.
we spoke a few weeks ago to Anne Bio Day, and we were talking about different expectations. So just
Yeah,
tying those two things together, and as you say, the expectations of family and whatnot, the fact that we all have a different genius level um, of skill means that somebody who, for example, is really good at, I don't know, mathematics should be judged equally or just differently to somebody that's really good at, I don't know, mixing food or painting or
ab-
being a prime minister. I think
absolutely.
sometimes in the society that we live in, some of the fears that people have are the career path or the path that they choose is looked at unfavorably or not as favorably within society, and that also could be a barrier.
See, I think it's very interesting what you said.
Mm.
Um, from my experience, that's where fear pops up again. Fear is probably one deceiving you and telling you like, wow, what's everyone going to think? How are you going to do this? What's going to happen? Because what I've experienced is whenever I transited from careers, I would always have situations where usually when I start off, I'll get a lot of criticism, I'll get a lot of questions, I get a lot of worried concern. But then when it starts blossoming and when things start going well, they'll be like, wow, this is great. Wow, I'm so proud of you. So there's always a delay. There's always, and then another interesting concept I discovered is that people can actually be expressing their own fear on you, right? So they
Right, we
can't,
spoke about that. Yes.
yeah, they can't achieve what you're about to do,
Mm.
or maybe you tried it and it didn't work. So out of love, they might be advising you, they might be telling you not to do it, but it might not. It might. The fact is not their destiny. Doesn't mean it's yours, right? So they
Yes.
might be you based on their fears and limitations, and they may put it on you. But you have to consciously, fight for it. You have to fight for your
Yes.
dream. You have to know that this is for you, and your path is different from the next person. So,
And
um,
that's the job or the mission that you have been given, and therefore it's for you to fulfill it rather than somebody else to fulfill it. Which is why
exactly.
you probably have that, you probably have more drive to be able to do that. So anybody out there who's listening and who's thinking about where they want to go in life, if they're on the right direction, if they're on the right path, if it's something that's inborn within you, and if you have that internal desire, I think that's half of the battle, isn't it? Having that
Yeah.
internal desire to do something,
Yes.
rather than it being pressed upon you that you must do this.
Yes. 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 And I think just to emphasize that people should enjoy the journey,
Mm,
not so much focusing on the destination itself, but just realize the lessons and because life is a journey. It's not just getting to
yes.
one place. And there are a lot of things you have to enjoy the journey. If you don't enjoy the journey, you're not going to enjoy life. You can't just wait to moving that goalpost. You're just saying, okay, when I achieve this, I'll be happy. When I achieve this, I'll be happy with it. But you have to enjoy the process. So
And
take time.
and you might not get there. The truth of the matter is you might not get to the end part because
Yeah,
actually your destiny could have been something a bit closer, but because you're
exactly.
looking at a different destination, you don't actually achieve that. One of the things
Yeah,
that I've tried to stress on this show as well is the fact that a lot of the times the things that we have available to us right now today are the things that would allow us to be fulfilled. But then a lot of the times we're reaching out to abstract thoughts and abstract things that we think will allow us to be fulfilled. So your point about enjoying the journey is very, very key and very crucial, I think. For example,
yeah,
someone saying, oh, they want to be able to enjoy having, being outside in nature, when they're older, they're going to travel the Amazon and experience things like that. Yet actually in their present day, they're not going for a walk in nature, someone saying, oh, I really want, when I'm older, I'm going to be a farmer, I'm going to have a big farm. Well, right now you're not looking after any animals, you're not growing any plants. But all of a
and
sudden, when the end of when you get to retirement, then it's all going to fit into place. It's kind of, yeah.
Yeah. So the goal has to be realistic,
Yes.
and then those. And another thing that's really important about those steps, talking about the way forward in the Grow acronym, the steps. By the time you try something, and you take a tiny step, it will not only give you a boost or motivation to actually achieve the goal, but then you can actually test whether or not you enjoy it. So this idea
Mm.
of going into the Amazon, if you decide to take a walk in the park and you get insects biting you, you're like, no, maybe this is not for me after all.
Then probably that isn't really what your,
Yeah,
yeah, your mind, and which is what we've talked about, your mind tricking you. So your mind tells you that this is what is good and this is what you think will be relaxing for you, but the
yeah,
reality of it might be totally different. So explore, 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 which is something that you've said about knocking on different doors. Try
sure.
different things to be able to see what works for you. So we've got a comment here by Mike Times that says, "Thank you, Dr. Case. Being at the top of your career as a DJ, leaving all behind to start afresh, how did you manage to count your losses, to risk all by moving away from something?" Ooh, that's a good question. So let's say
Yeah,
you've
that's
invested, even if it's for someone out there, it could be a university degree, that they've gone through all of that, they spent all that money, and then all of a sudden they're going to move to something else. So how did you count your losses and think?
yeah, the way I did it, I would definitely want to advise anyone to do it. I just dropped everything. I quit my job at Beat FM. Um, I sold all my equipment. It was quite drastic. I definitely won't advise you go via that route. But I think, it's so interesting that even though I left um, DJing per se, I actually had a lot of, because of the self reflection and because of the time, I eventually learned like three different instruments. So my knowledge of music is actually even way deeper than when I was DJing. But
Which
I think
instruments, if you don't mind us finding out?
piano, guitar, and drums.
Okay.
Actually, guitar and bass. Yeah, so that's four. But I haven't really mastered the bass. But yeah, so there's this app. This name just digress a bit. It's called Musician, which is pretty much fantastic. And yeah, I practiced a lot on it. So just going, having a lot of time to reflect and a lot of time to explore. Just the idea of being vulnerable, the
Mm.
idea of not being so scared of failure anymore. Because for the longest time I've been, not that I'm scared of picking up instruments or singing, but I've just always looked at it like, okay, I'm a DJ, let me just keep DJing.
Mm.
But
Yeah.
I was in that phase of exploring. I picked up those instruments, and it's been a great experience. Just discovering. And another thing that you should, I think we discussed it, is the lessons you learn along the way, right? So
Yes.
even though
Go ahead.
I have not become the biggest artist in terms of singing, I have learned a lot of lessons, that has influenced my DJing or my production, so that even picking up painting, for instance, the idea of mixing colors and all that, I noticed there's such a similarity in, funny enough, there's similarity in creativity, period, right? So if
Yes.
you same way you take colors and you mix it, you really don't know where you're going. I remember working with my art teacher, or the person I was working with. I kept on asking him questions like, okay, whenever I'm making a beat, right, what I do is I pretty much just start from the drums and then I just kind of see where it goes. Going into art, I just thought there were rules. I always thought, okay, your painting has to look this way, it has to be that way. But then he was just
Yeah.
telling me much it's the same thing. There are no rules. You're an artist, just create. Even going into cooking as well, just bringing all the elements is your own version. So all these different areas, they have affected the others as a total. I have a whole balanced life that is being affected by each of those areas. So I always try whatever I do. I know this might sound like I'm doing much, but even learning how to ride the bike, how to ride the motorbike, I learned that there's a lot of lessons I learned from that. That I use in different areas now. One of the first things you do whenever you ride a bike is you have to look left, no matter, even if your mirror is there, you physically have to look, right? And so
Yeah.
driving, for instance, now, anytime I'm driving, I always look. I'm a better driver because of
You're
that.
aware
So
to see if there are any cyclists around,
yeah,
as well
yeah,
as you being a driver.
yeah. So just exploring all these things, they add to all the facets of my life, and yeah,
Mm.
definitely better running individual, which I think everyone should explore. Just live your life. You only have one life to live at the end of the day, so you really have to live it to the fullest.
I think that's one of the key things. The Bible talks about learn from the ant, look at the way of nature and learn
Yeah,
from nature. So with your life, and what I would encourage everyone out there to do is learn from different situations, whether it's cooking or whether it's looking at how plants grow. You can actually apply that into your own life. I mean, the
yeah,
other day, I'll just give you an example. I was thinking that I had a wheelbarrow, and I thought to myself, oh, well, I could go back and forth to the house about 10 times to get different plants to plant, or I could get the wheelbarrow, empty it out, take a little bit more time, get the wheelbarrow, go, and then do it all in one swoop. So I was just
yeah,
thinking about, even in a day to day situation, how stopping and reflecting on life allows you to make better decisions. And so I
yeah,
was linking that to how can people benefit from knowing that piece of information in their personal development walk, how
yeah.
important it is to stop, which is what you said, stop, find out who you are, and then you can decide which way you are meant to go.
Yeah, I think it's interesting you mentioned that. That is creativity, what you did there. Which is why when you ask me what would describe me, I'll say I'm a creative first.
Mm.
Because whatever it is you're doing, you kind of have to figure out ways to innovate, ways to improve, to cut back time, to become better, just constantly improving yourself. So I think, yeah, that just boils down to the creativity element and being a human being.
So we've got a comment here from Anne Biodo who said, I love the fact that you jumped out in faith despite the fact that it was scary. So
Yeah,
we talked about that. Yeah.
yeah, that was a it was definitely scary. I can't even it was tough. The procedure wasn't very smooth. It wasn't a fairy tale procedure at all. Um, a lot of doubts, a lot of loneliness, a lot of it was pretty tough. But
More.
the
Tell
end
us,
just
tell us more. Tell us a lot of doubt, a lot of love. Because the thing is, really, I want people to be able to know the reality of what it means. Because we talked about, I think there was a comment there that was about how did you change everything. There's some people that have been in careers for 30 years, and then
mm,
they get to the end of it and they're thinking, or they're in the middle of it and they're thinking, I don't think this is for me. There's something more that I need to give in life. There's something that I need to do, but they don't know where to go from having that feeling. And even if they do know where to go, they've done some soul searching, they know who they are. It's a case of how do they overcome those barriers and what should they expect? Taking into consideration that everybody's experience will be different. But what are some of those things? So there was doubt, there was loneliness. Loneliness in what sense?
loneliness and just I mean it's your goal. No one can see it. It's
Mm,
not for anyone else but you.
yes.
So trying, even though you're not meant to convince people, but especially people that love you, they're always concerned. What are you going to do? What are you going to do next? But it's all the things that you know. I'm trying not to go too deep here, but
Why not?
basically
That's what we're here
along,
for. Come on.
along the lines of fear, depression, sadness, they're all cousins. They're all related. So where
Yes.
you find the others always flock in, right?
Mm,
And we've identified that whenever you're trying to reach your destiny, fear is going to show up. It's going to try and stop you, right? So the way to tackle it, or the way I should have tackled it, which I didn't, was to I highlight the steps I was going to take, and they might be tiny steps, really, really, really tiny step. Even if it means waking up in the morning, even if it means saying an affirmation after that, even if it means saying a prayer, even if it means going to your neighbor's house. Do you understand? Just tiny steps.
yes.
That is the way I tackled it. That's the way I know a lot of people tackle this thing called fear. Just doing it afraid, realizing that fear is going to be there. Not waiting till you're not scared before you do it. Fear
Oh,
is
very
always
good.
good. You just may have to do it afraid. You just know this is going to show up. You're going to feel a certain way. What I've come to do is I've actually recognized fear. Like, I don't want to say we become friends, but I'm familiar with it, and I just like, okay, you're going to be there. That's your own business. I'm going to I'm going to go ahead. So I've learned how to do things scared. I've learned how to do things afraid. But I would definitely highlight that taking those steps, highlighting however small it is, just
Mm.
keep going. Everything, life is all about those small steps, just going after the other. And then before you know it, you reach your destination. You'll be surprised when you look back. And the days you're feeling like you haven't achieved much, just pause and reflect on what you've done so far. Just going back to those steps, especially if you write things down, because that's the best way to achieve. stuff. So putting it in your head might not work because, as we discussed, your brain can deceive you. You kind of just write those steps down and take it one by one, just one by slowly, no rush, no rush, just one by one,
Yeah.
and just keep. Don't the half of the battle is showing up.
Mm.
Life has a way of directing, especially when it's your true destiny. You
Yes.
might get somewhere and you have no idea what is going to happen there, but then something shows up and you take the next step, and then another person you didn't expect to help you would help you take the next step. Just
Because
keep
they've seen
moving.
a fruit. They've seen a fruit. They've
Yeah,
seen substance of what was in your head, or where
exactly.
you were trying to go to. Whereas if you are still in the same position, then how can you have people to come alongside you to help you
Yes,
move forward?
yeah. People will only help you out when they see how much you've done yourself. A lot of people are just waiting to, and most of them are strangers, by the way. So just don't listen to fear, man. Forget that fear. Just it's liar, very big liar.
Big
Big
liar. So
liar.
I know that one of, just from talking to you on previous occasions, I know that one of the things that is part of your philosophy is that part of our destiny should be there to, um, you know, make us feel fulfilled, but also should have an impact on others. Is that
Yeah.
is that still the case?
Yes, definitely. Mother Nature in herself, she designs everything she designs is for others' benefits. Everything she creates makes plants so they can give oxygen for us to breathe. You know, the animals are for us to eat. So everything works into, even the animals when they die, they go to the soil and then they help plants come up as well. So everything is designed for the benefits of others, right? And
Yes.
so that we are at the core, and our destiny is always tied to helping others. Most people that become billionaires, if that's what you consider success to be, how do they become billionaires? By providing the most value to others. Think of Jeff Bezos of Amazon, for instance. He's come up with solutions that make life easier for others, and that's why people reward him by giving him money. So what you have to do is tied into helping people. You kind of have to figure out, we're all part of one big puzzle, right? And just
Mm.
going back to what I said about discovering who you are, when you discover who you are and you can help people, you essentially have the ability to fit into that puzzle. You have fulfilled what you're on here, what you're on earth for, and that can help you in the grand scheme of things. So finding who you are will let you fit into a puzzle which could help the world and which could be rewarding to humanity as a whole. So it's extremely important to find your destiny. Extremely important to actually achieve what God designed you to be, to contribute your quota to this world.
Now, we've talked about that so many times, but I really want to nail down in this. We've only got a few minutes left, but I really want to nail down um, how, okay? Because yes, we've talked about you can think about where you want to be in a few years, but that is a bit, the waters in that are, they could go one way, they could go, another way. Are there any specific steps that you could say that, today someone could go away and do X, Y, and Z to be able to find out who they're meant to be? I know that's a big question because there are how many, billions of people, but are there any things that you can see a common threads with other people that you've spoken to that would help, people watching this show?
Okay, I'll probably just highlight a few, but I think by far the most important thing is get a coach. That is without a doubt, just get a coach. There are different types of coaches, different levels. Some extremely expensive, some very affordable. But absolutely, absolutely, first and foremost, get a coach. So in the pros, if you decide you want to do it yourself, I would say one of the first things is, of course, that process of highlighting where you want to be in 30 years, and then um, analyzing the first step you're going to take. I think the steps are so important that I cannot emphasize it enough.
Mm.
You say you want to get it, you're tired of your job, you want to go to another job. What is the first thing? First of all, you have to be sure why are you working where you're working? Why
Mm.
do you want to move jobs? Is the reason you're moving jobs, does that mean you can't get that same satisfaction from the job you currently are? But answer kind of have to go through this with a coach. These are the kind of
Yes.
questions they were asking. But the first step is so important because it would not only motivate you to keep going, but of course it would test the hypothesis, which is that you want to move jobs, right? So the first step, I'm tired of my job. I want to go to another job. What do I do? Update my CV on LinkedIn. Maybe somebody gets back to me. I go for an interview. I find out about the job. I realize that, okay, no, this is actually different from what I thought it was, because the grass is always greener from the outside.
Very true.
So those steps are important because they motivate you, but they also test whether this is possible, whether this is a reality. And then once again, I'd like to go back to fear. You really have to eliminate this, because even the way you're asking the questions, I can kind of tell like there's a lot of fear involved. Is in 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 making you believe that taking a step is not the answer to the issue. You know, taking that one step, it's a powerful, powerful thing. It might sound very small, but I think it's the first thing. Practical tips: do some soul searching, get a coach first. In the meantime, highlight the possible roles you want to take, highlight the obstacles that might stop it, uh, highlight what you've done, and because when you have those 12 areas of your life, right, you might not be enjoying it. Like you might not enjoy your job, but at the same time, there may be other things you enjoy doing. Like for instance, I was too. It was a rough patch I had in my work. I was a fixed income trader and I was having a rough patch. But then I then realized that I could focus on my energy into cooking, into arts, into music as a hobby, right? So
Yeah.
those are my hobbies, where I find my passion from. And I came up with a timetable, which revolved around that. So once again, going through this process of identifying the different areas of your life where you want them to be, and just know that it has to be a well balanced life, because you can't say because you don't enjoy your money, you're going to work in charity, but yet you can't feed your family, you can't um, be responsible for them. So just have a well balanced life, and take those initial steps is what's important.
This was important. So I guess one a good thing to try and do as well, which is an ideal situation, is to try and, if it's a case that you do need finances, to try and match your passion and what you're really good at with your finances, so that that can be monetized. And therefore, as long as it doesn't take away from the fun and the enjoyment of that passion in the first place, and therefore you're not just doing a job to pay the bills, you're actually doing something that you would do anyway, even if no one was paying you.
I think reality wise, that would be a perfect scenario. I don't think it's very realistic, but it's definitely a situation that if you find yourself in, you're definitely very blessed. Not a lot of people belong there. This is just reality wise. Most people do what they have to do for money, and then they find other ways to enjoy themselves, to chase their passion. They find other ways. They find it actually also, there's this acronym called OCEAN, right?
Okay.
So it stands for openness, conscientiousness, extrovertism, agreeableness, and neuroticism, right? So you're either high or low in those areas, right? So extroverts, they enjoy going out, if they enjoy discussing with people, they're social human beings, right? Introverts, on the other hand, are different, right? So if you take that example, for instance, there's a particular type of job that you might be doing that even though you're not getting that satisfaction, there are other ways that you can plan around getting your extroverts dosage, or to put it that way.
Yeah.
Um, agreeableness, just so going back to the same thing we've been talking about, just identify who you are, and then once you, because a lot of people make this mistake, they don't find out who they are, and then they think that, okay, actually, I'm not making enough money in this job, I need to go somewhere else to make more money, right? And then they go to another job and they're still not happy
It's the
because
same situation. Yeah.
it's the same situation, and the whole problem was they don't actually know what they want. If
Yes.
you don't know what you want, if you don't know where you're going to, you're sort of going around the circle, you're not going to be.
You'll never get to the destination. So we've got about 4 minutes left on the clock. But what I'd like you to do, just briefly in a sentence, is to give us an idea of how to measure the value that something is giving to you in your life. So you mentioned these different 12 areas that people could focus on. How do you measure the value that something, so painting, for example, is there a limit, or is there a way that you say, oh, painting actually now is for me because it provides me this level of value added to my life?
I wouldn't advise that you put a specific number or measure or or limit on it. I think it's more of just enjoying the process,
Yes.
understanding well why you're doing it. I think why you're doing
Mm.
something way more important than what you're doing. So
Yes.
why I'm painting because it's cool. It's fun. It's different. Why I make music because I enjoy it. I have a lot of ideas in my head. Why am I fixing
You're skilled.
income? Yeah, I'm fixing Computer because I want to have a career in banking. Why am I a real estate consultant? I'm a real estate consultant because I want to make money and I like buildings. Why am I a coach? I'm a coach because I want to help people because I believe most people. Um, I wish someone had put me through this process a lot earlier. My life got a lot easier. So, because I know why I'm doing most things, it gives me clarity, it gives me focus, and I would obviously know because I know why I'm doing it. I'll know when I've achieved it to a certain extent, or I'll know
Yeah.
when I need to move on because I know why I'm doing it. So, just focus
Perfect.
on what. Yeah,
On the why. That's exactly what I was trying to get out of you. Thank you so much for that. Because there is the other hand where people are just doing something because they see other people doing it rather than from an internal place of this is adding value to my life, specific
yeah,
to me. There's a reason why I'm doing it. So thank you very much for that. So for the last 1 minute, can you just tell us, talking about adding value to other people's lives and being able to help people on their journey, can you just talk me through the event Positive Vibes that you have been running pre the lockdown and things like that? Can you just tell us what the purpose of this is?
yeah. So this is actually very it's very dear to my heart. We're all going through very dark times, very strange times. Um, and I've come to discover that most of it is in our head. It's all down to mindset, right? And having a grateful heart, having a positive mindset is by far the most important thing you can have in life because you can get through any obstacle, you can get through any down times by just maintaining a positive mindset. There are a lot of people that have the same disease, but the only reason why somebody come out of it is because they just maintain that. Okay, listen, I'm going to survive. I'm going to get through
The
this. They just
mindset.
maintain. So this is my own version of um, contributing to that quote of positive vibes. I've had some key guests come on. Larry Lushola is the man I was mentioning beforehand. He's my life coach. He's someone that put
Oh,
me through
great.
that to be a coach as well. So and it was a very powerful session. It's still on the. Okay, my mom just commented. That's so strange. Hello. Yeah, Larry Lushola. He put me through the process of identifying where you need to be, identifying how you should you get there. So he shared some very powerful tips. The video is still on my page, so you can check it out on Dr. Case. But yeah, and I play some music as well, positive vibes, just to get people to, just stay positive, no
To
matter what
feel.
you're going through. Yeah, a
Yes.
grateful by far one of the most important things you can have because if you get into the hard times, and the hard times will come,
Mm.
just not to put it down there, but having a grateful and positive mindset will definitely get you through.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for joining us today. And thank you so much for the insight and for sharing your different passions that have benefited you. Hopefully, everyone watching as well will be able to get something. I think there's just so many different things that you can get from that, whether it's overcoming fear, whether it is finding your passion, whether it's finding yourself as an
Yeah,
individual that will help you on your path and your future journey forward. So do take time to take down some notes, but most importantly, take action. Do something about what you've heard today if it applies to you. And again, share it to people that are out there so that they can benefit and take one step forward to their personal development goals. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. And thank you so much, Danry Case Phillips, for joining us. Unfortunately, we couldn't play any of your music because of copyright issues, but that would
that's
have been
okay.
lovely to actually hear your music. But I'm sure people can just Google and find your
Yeah,
work out there. But once
yeah,
again, thank you for joining us. We'll be here again next week with a very informative session. And you can go onto the playlist on YouTube or the Producer's Life and look at what's coming up ahead. So thank you very much for joining, everyone. Have a lovely evening. Thank you, Derry.
thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye bye.